Hey guys, I bet everything you probably want is on the other side of the risk you're currently not taking. And I'm not talking about betting your life savings on some crazy deal. I'm talking about the smaller day to day real estate investing decisions you already know you need to make, but you aren't. Like picking up the phone every day, talking to the person, talking to the seller, asking those tough questions, making the offers, and putting yourself out there and taking the first step. Because here's the uncomfortable part, and I'm coming from a place of sincere desire to help, not to bring you down, but you probably don't need another course, another book, another podcast. I bet you already know enough to take the next step. Because here's what I've noticed: a lot of people aren't actually stuck because they don't know what to do, they're stuck because they don't want to experience what might happen if they do it. Like if you do it and you hear no, or you do it and you make a mistake. They don't want to look stupid. That's human nature, but they don't take the risk or feel the fear. And so they'll do something besides actually what needs to be done just to feel productive. So they learn more. They watch another video, read another book, take another course. And then 6 months later, you know a whole lot more, but you're still standing and stuck in the same place you were. So in this video, I want to talk about the three things that may be keeping you stuck. I know they kept me stuck for a long time. The first one is that the shelf help trap. And you probably already know enough, like I say, to take the next step. And I'm going to talk about that. But the second part is your hero's journey, because courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is taking action while you're afraid. And then the third, how to build a business that's aligned with who you are. And there's a lot of different ways to do real estate, right? We know this, but there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you're just trying to succeed in a way, in an area that doesn't fit you. So if you're watching this and you realize, hey, that's me, I know I want something different, but I can't seem to get myself to take those steps to create the system. And that's the kind of problem I help people with. So with my one-to-one coaching. So reach out to me if we're walking through these things, pointing these out, and something rings true in you. Because sometimes you don't need more information. You need somebody who's been there, done that, who can see what's actually holding you back and help you take the next step. So let's get into it. By the way, I did build this 7-day get off your ass challenge, and I wanted to make it free to you. I'll put a link below. If you're stuck and you just want some quick results, this isn't learning more. This is something you can implement same day for 7 days, one thing, and by the end of the week, you will be taking action. You will see what's holding you back. All right. So the shelf help trap. It's about over-consuming all the stuff, the books, the podcasts, the courses. And more damaging is that consumption is getting in the way of you taking action. You still feel like the emotional payoff of learning because learning feels productive, but you spend 6 months watching YouTube and reading the books and the courses and the podcasts and researching the strategies, and you feel like you're working towards your goal. But learning can be productive, yes, or it can be a procrastination wearing a productive disguise. So how do you tell? Well, ask yourself, is this information that I'm covering right now helping me solve today's problems or helping me avoid today's problems? So you may be thinking, well, what if I don't know enough yet? Well, you probably do. Or you can really soon. Like it's not that hard. I teach one of my ways of buying real estate in 4 weeks, literally from zero to hero, from nothing to doing, 4 weeks. You might be thinking, well, what if I make a stupid mistake or somebody asks me a question that I don't know? How do I know when I learned enough? And what if I'm missing some critical piece of information, or I lose money, or someone says no? Or if I embarrass myself? So what? I mean, in the big picture, it doesn't matter, guys. I mean, when did we end up with this mentality where we need to know something that's a good decision before we make it? Like, that just doesn't happen. Like, if I told you you needed to learn how to swim before you get in the pool, like, you just don't do that. So many of these decisions can be undone also in any moment, yet we act as if we're married to them. And I was there. I'm guilty of this. I'm speaking to the choir here. Leaving my safe, secure job for the unknown of real estate investing. I didn't need more information. I needed more experience. Yet I was still going to the job every day, and I contemplated staying at that factory job because I was afraid real estate would stop working as soon as I left, right? I needed to take action. I wanted time and financial freedom and wasn't going to get it at my job. So I had to face the harsh reality, stay a slave or make a jailbreak. But even if it didn't work, I just go get another job. It's not even a big deal. Rumination is a disease that prevents you from getting anywhere, sitting around wondering, dreaming, but never doing. Because while it sucks less being rejected. So I just said, screw it, let's do it. I left. The rest is kind of history. Information does not equal experience. You don't need more information. You need more experience. And how will you know when you're ready? You probably won't. That's kind of the point. You just won't. You got to admit it. Stop learning for the sake of it. Most of you already know at least how to make some offers. Remember, our offers have out clauses, guys. So even if the numbers don't turn out the way we expected or the buyer doesn't come quick enough, the worst case scenario, we lose our $10 earnest money. That's it. That's the risk. So courage is acting in the face of fear. Bravery is taking action when you're still scared. Focus on just-in-time learning. This is huge, was huge to me. We learned, I taught it to my daughter in homeschooling instead of cramming a bunch of information that I thought was useless. All this like algebra stuff that I just never learned. Unless she's got a passion for this particular area, we just said, look, you're going to learn the stuff you need just in time. And then I started adopting it. I wasn't just learning for the sake of learning, but just in time learning. You don't need to know everything about real estate before making an offer. You just need to know enough to make that next intelligent decision. You don't need to know, 5, 10 years down the road or, what's going to happen in 4 months. Just in time. Pick it up just in time. Like I mentioned in the other video where you get a manual with your refrigerator. Everybody gets one with a new refrigerator. And nobody looks at it. Who's going to read it end to end before they plug in the refrigerator and start using it? Now, if you need to adjust something, you go get the manual. Okay. So that's just in time instead of just in case. Just in case is like, well, I might need this just in case this one scenario happens. No, that just doesn't work. So instead of learn, then someday act, the cycle becomes act, encounter a problem. You need to set that temperature higher or the freezer lower. Go get the manual, learn it, solve it, and then, the cycle repeats. So here's the shelf help loop. Learn, doubt, some more, learn. No action versus the action loop. Action, problem, learn it, solution, action, experience, confidence. Screenshot that, guys. That's big. As simple as that line is, that's a big one. So your hero's journey. It's a classic narrative adventure found in all kinds of myths and movies, especially action movies. And the framework of the hero's journey is the character receives a call to an adventure, ventures into unfamiliar world, not learn someday, okay? He goes into the unfamiliar place, faces trials and obstacles, reaches a climactic ordeal where he becomes or overcomes his greatest challenge, and then returns transformed with newfound wisdom, power, or fame. This is a classic movie plot, especially these days. So your ordinary world is where you are now. Then comes the call. I want something more. I want something better. I need to make more money, whatever the call is. There's something more you want, right? But then comes the resistance. Here's what we're talking about, guys. Maybe I'm not ready. Then the threshold. The first uncomfortable action, and this will build your muscle, it's that transformation that happens. You don't become a hero because you achieve the goal. Big misconception. You can still be a hero and fail. That's also in a lot of great stories. You become a hero because you decided to enter the arena. Great little book by Teddy Roosevelt, former president, The Man in the Arena, talking about this, getting in, getting knocked down. He was a boxer, actually, and he was a cowpoke, like a cowboy, a man's man, not afraid of failure. Failure is feedback. Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. You failed at that one thing that one time. So if you're waiting to stop being scared, you'll just wait forever, because fear isn't a stop sign. Sometimes it's just a sign that you're standing at the edge of that growth. Like you're right there at the edge. You just need to fail and then fall into it, basically. Fall into the success, really. So the goal isn't to become fearless. The goal is to become someone who can move forward while they're afraid. That is so important, guys. You probably already know some of this. I'm just kind of remind you that that is powerful. Become someone who can move forward while you're afraid. All right, so here's the 5 steps to start your hero's journey. To leave your ordinary world and answer that call to adventure, that call to be more, to make more, to do more. How to move forward even in the face of fear and risk. So number 1, first step, recognize the ordinary world that you're in. Just start identifying what your current routine looks like, the job you're in, the habits you default to, like the no's that you're saying or the waiting, that comfort zone you're protecting, because most people never leave because they just consciously or subconsciously see that what they're leaving behind. You just need to name that clearly, where you're at. And number 2 is listen to that call. Like pay attention to those things that frustrate you, that excite you, that pull your curiosity. The signals that are all around. Have your antenna up, because maybe you keep noticing the distressed properties in your neighborhood that no one else is touching. That is kind of your inner self saying, hey, I bet I could do something with that. Maybe you're running spreadsheets on rental income during your lunch break. That was from a personal bit right there. I was drawing little houses because I'm a visual guy. So, and each one was a duplex. And then I put on the top how much it was, how much I had to have down. At that time, I was actually using bank money. So that's what I was doing every lunch break. And maybe you're watching other investors build wealth and keep thinking, well, why not me? You know, these aren't passing thoughts. They're invitations. The call often shows up disguised as frustration with your current financial situation or a fascination with opportunities that others are overlooking. So don't dismiss it. That persistent urge to look at listings, to calculate the cap rates, and to drive through neighborhoods, imagining what could be. That's your adventure calling, man. Don't dismiss that. That's it. And the question is whether you're going to pick up that call. And number 3, acknowledge your reluctance. You will feel resistance. Fear of failure is real. Financial risk and judgment from others, losing stability, this is all normal, you know. So, in your hero's journey, this is called refusing the call. And this is actually in a lot of the plots too, in the movies. You know, the hero or the person who may be the hero, the person. So he will reject it. He'll turn away. He'll not want to go. He'll not want to risk it. So that's what separates genuine hesitation from intuition telling you to stop. And then number 4, find your mentor. No hero goes alone. It seems like, you know, there's just no lone wolves because they die without the pack. And I would encourage you to seek out someone, if not me, someone who's already walked the path you're interested in, a coach to learn from their mistakes and using the system they've already built. Don't waste time reinventing the wheel. Take that first concrete step as the last one. This is where most people stall, actually, the very last one. I'm not saying quit your day job or leave or just do something measurable. And that challenge, that 7-day challenge, the key to it that makes it so cool is that every day there's just one easy small step to do. And by the end, it's like you've built this confidence and it's pretty cool. So put your marketing out there to attract motivated sellers, create a buyer's list, write offers, use your wrist muscle because action does create momentum. And momentum creates that belief. And belief fuels the rest of your journey. Your quest starts the moment you choose discomfort over stagnation. So, what's the one thing you've been waiting to do? Do it this week. I challenge you. If you want to be motivated, make movement. There's no going back to the exact same ordinary world once you crossed over. You just can't go back. You can't unsee it. You can't unthink it. And that's the whole point of this. So the adventure begins when retreat feels harder than moving forward. Having an aligned business is the last one, guys. This is so powerful because for a while I was doing rentals and I was doing everything myself and I just was not good at it. I was fixing the places, which I was terrible at. And I just thought this was investing. Like nobody told me. I didn't know that you couldn't not like do the drywall and the painting and talk to the tenants and show them the places. And it was just a mess. So having an aligned business, it's really the ultimate goal because when you have an aligned business, it's not even work, it's play. It becomes so much different, such a better life when you have, it's like really investing, like what you got into it for. That's what you want to achieve. When you have an aligned business, it's aligned with how you want to work, who you are, what your personality is, picking that niche, but not only that, but adjusting the business so it really works for you. And like I say, money just flows naturally. Doing deals becomes effortlessly. And so sometimes the problem isn't that you're too afraid. Sometimes it's just you're trying to build the business the wrong way. And so what if the business you're struggling to build isn't actually designed for the way you naturally work? Because look, some might love talking with people, networking, negotiating, being on camera. Someone else might hate all those things because someone might want freedom, flexibility, fewer clients, less complexity of just a simple stripped down business like how I flip houses, like I mentioned. Teach it in 4 weeks because it's so simple. Another person might thrive on teams, the scale, the competition, and the high volume. If you're struggling with your business, there's nothing wrong with you. It's perfectly normal. Just pay attention to what's bugging you. Stop trying to become someone else in order to build the business you want or to make the money you want. You can do that by having an aligned business. So the question isn't simply, how do I force myself to become successful? A better question, what kind of business allows me to succeed without constantly fighting with my own personality, that inner tug of war, me versus myself? So because the goal isn't simply to become better at tolerating the business you hate, that's not what we want. It's to create a business and a life that are worth, hold on guys. So the goal, it's to, it's to create a business and life that are worth taking the risk for. All right. So 2 examples of how I align my business. One on the buy side, one on the sell side. And the one on the sell side is I didn't like talking with sellers who weren't totally on board with the way that I was going to buy their house because I'm not a retail buyer. I need to get paid for my services. I can provide you a great service, close quick, make it easy, but I'm going to get paid for it too. So if you don't see the value, I didn't necessarily put it on them. I believed that it was a problem with my marketing, that I was attracting the wrong kind of sellers, really. So I only wanted to deal with motivated sellers, and I wasn't at the time. I was getting everybody in because I just wasn't doing my marketing right. So I made sure my marketing was always on point. I changed it so I only attracted those kind of motivated sellers. Quality leads made the conversations with sellers so much more pleasurable. Yes, they had questions. I would answer them, and they already knew when they contacted me, this guy's an investor. He's going to want a good price. So, it screens the prospects from the suspects, like I say here. I don't have to waste my time doing it on the phone myself, every seller conversation. So the times I did talk with the sellers, it was much more enjoyable because they saw the value that I provided them. So both of those made my investing way more profitable, efficient, because again, I wasn't pre-screening them. I had my marketing pre-screen them, and then even my seller contact form, and then when they called in. So if at the end of the conversation the seller wasn't a fit, no problem. I would just say, look, not a problem at all. If your time and circumstances change, I don't mind being plan B. Give me a call. So on the sell side, when I was marketing my rental services, I learned that the key to scaling is recognizing where my own limitations were and where I was actually the bottleneck, holding my business back. And that was definitely talking with tenants, managing tenants. If I had insisted on like personally managing every property, like I was talking about doing all the work, I would have never grew what I did, $12 million portfolio. I would have got burned out, walked away from the entire business, started something else because of a few things that just didn't align with who I am. But I identified those gaps, plugged the holes through smart delegation. So I was able to continue running rentals profitably without dealing with all those headaches that just didn't align with me. Other people, they actually enjoyed it. They were good at it. It was actually a great move because I didn't have the time to deal with, like I say, the tenants as much as I maybe could have. But my assistant was actually a people person, and the tenant and her had a small bond. So the tenants knew that they had a friend in the business they could talk to if there was a payment issue. They could work things out together. It worked out. So when a tenant didn't feel I'm providing quality service, by the way, we did and still do our happy clause, because I just don't want to deal with a person who doesn't see the value in my property, in my service. I say, look, if it's going to help you, I'll just let you out. This isn't in the paperwork even. It's an additional form that I send them, or that my assistant will send them. And it just basically says, we're going to part ways. This isn't working for you. We're going to let you out of your lease. Pay what you owe. Leave it broom swept clean, and we're going to let you out. I'd rather have a happy client, renter, who appreciates the property. That's just how I do business. It keeps my business aligned and ensures neither side is stuck in a situation that isn't working. So some of you might be thinking, well, isn't taking risk irresponsible? Look, you manage risk in real estate by taking calculated risk. Look at the difference. Reckless risk taking is, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to bet everything, right? No, calculated risk. I understand the downside. I put in the guardrails around it, the out clauses, the $10 earnest money. I'm willing to take the next step on that. You don't need to eliminate risk. You need to learn how to manage it. So courage isn't ignoring the risk. Courage is understanding that the risk is there and then deciding it's worth taking. So you can survive uncertainty, learn from the outcome, and become more capable on the other side. So yes, some things can and will go wrong with our deals, but that's where you have just the proper paperwork and processes to safeguard yourself against the losses. For example, $10 earnest money and the out clauses. So the life you want does not require eliminating fear or failure. It requires you stop letting the fear make all your decisions. You don't need more confidence. You need more evidence. And you do that, you get the evidence by taking the action. People always think, once I'm confident, I'll take action. It's just completely backwards. Confidence usually works the other way. Action, experience, evidence, and then confidence. You don't become courageous by thinking about courage. You become courageous by doing something while you're still scared and discovering, hey, that worked, I survived it. And even if it doesn't work, you got that experience for next time. So then you do it again. And then eventually, what used to feel risky becomes absolutely normal. I can back that 100%. I see these newbies and they analyze the deals so much, analysis paralysis, and then the deal is gone because an investor comes and he writes an offer. Just like I do. I walk through the house 5 minutes. I'm through a 1,500 square foot house. In and out 5 minutes. I know what to look for, and I'm writing the offer on the way out. I didn't start that way, but I guarantee you it can end that way in terms of do it 20 times. You'll have that muscle to where you can do it. So you don't think your way out of fear. You act your way through it. You don't need to feel ready to take the next step either. You already know more than you think. I guarantee it, guys, because real estate is simple. Don't make it complicated. You don't need certainty to take the next step. And you don't need to eliminate fear. You just need to take smart, calculated risks, learn from what happens, and then just keep moving forward. And you don't need to build a business. You do need to build a business that fits who you are, an aligned business. And then the question isn't, am I afraid? The question is the risk worth taking? And like the risk, like I say, $10, take the risk. The goal isn't to become fearless either. It's to become someone who can move forward while they're afraid. So 3 reasons people stay stuck in real estate. These reasons might prevent you from your hero's journey. So I'll just briefly go through these. I keep learning because learning feels safer than acting. I'm afraid of what might happen if I actually act. And then maybe the business I'm trying to build isn't even right for me. So people stay stuck. The thing standing between you and what you want isn't more information. It's the willingness to act before you feel ready. Because being ready is like a state of mind or a goal. It's a decision. Like being ready is never a physical thing or maybe even a financial thing. It's just a yes or a no. A mistake we all make. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. That is so true. And others do. And they can see what we don't know. And that one sentence or one bit of information can completely change the way we see things. A mentor, this is great for mentor highlights. They will definitely let you know what you don't know. There's a great book by Donald Rumsfeld. The name escapes me because it's kind of complex, but it's something like what was it? Because he said it in a news conference during the war. Unknown knowns and knowns, that is right here what we're talking about. When that happens, the solutions we come up with are not going to typically work because we just don't know what we don't know. You can't just make this stuff up. But the solution won't get us where we need to be. For example, if someone is struggling with money and saving for a down payment on a property, that's typically going to take several months, 10% down, 15% down minimum. So come to find out, you can use alternative acquisition options. Boom, and eliminate the need for any money or credit almost instantly. You can learn this in a week and have the paperwork to do it. All you need is the right paperwork and a bit of understanding. Problem solved. Instead of multiple months, it's a week or less, really. So in summary, here's a problem. You know what to do, but you're just waiting to feel ready, like that inner feeling. Again, it's like that inner decision. You're just waiting, and that just doesn't happen. It's you take action, you say yes. But there's three. So you use learning to protect yourself from action, but the realization is you don't need to know everything. You need to know enough to solve the problem that's just right in front of you. Again, just in time learning. Waiting reason number two, you think courage comes before action. The realization is action creates evidence. Evidence then creates the confidence. And then the reason number three, you may be trying to build a business that just doesn't fit you. The answer isn't always trying harder, getting up earlier, hitting it harder, just doing what you don't like. Sometimes it's just build it differently. Plug the holes, outsource, have a second set of eyes or another mind on what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go. And the payoff, the other side of the risk, isn't necessarily success. The payoff is actually growth, experience, confidence, and clarity, and eventually that life and business you actually want. So if you know you're stuck, but you can't figure it out, you can't figure out what exactly is holding you back, keeping you stuck, that's what I help people with, actually. So like I said, there's a lot of different ways to do real estate. If real estate isn't working like you want to, so let's just have that second set of eyes, get my mind on what you're trying to achieve, and I can help you identify what's actually holding you back and then take the right action. So book a call with me to see if my one-to-one coaching program is a fit for you. If it is not a fit, I'll tell you. If it is, we'll get you in. And remember, everything you want is on the other side of risk. Guys, I hope this helped. It was pretty powerful stuff. It really has helped me over the years, helped a lot of my clients. Talk with you next time.